How's it going, everybody? We are back in the Scoring from the 50 podcast. I know I'm a little bit late this week. I've been kind of busy with work and school and all the different things I got going on, but we are here. It is Wednesday. We are ready to record this podcast. Okay, finally, we're going to get it up this week. My name is Drew Smith. I'm the host of the Scoring from the 50 podcast, and man, we had quite a week of college football over the weekend. Okay, some disappointment for the Florida Gators. I mean, we got to review all these different games. We got Florida and LSU. We got Clemson and Georgia Tech. We have Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Georgia and Tennessee, and then we got even more games to preview at the end. So make sure that you watch all the way through toward the end of the video if you want to make sure you get to the part where I preview the games coming up this upcoming weekend. But if we want to go ahead and get started on a very uneasy note, I mean, you talk about this Florida team and you tense up. It's tense in Gainesville, okay? Florida lost to LSU 20-10 this weekend. DJ Lagway, the first part of this sounds good. He went 33 for 49, 287 yards. He threw a touchdown. He had 5 interceptions. 5 interceptions for DJ Lagway. You throw 5 interceptions, you're going to lose every game you play. I can almost guarantee you that. Florida coming up has Miami, Texas, and Texas A&M. How in the world are they going to win games with that quarterback? DJ Lagway, he even on the play that got called back on the penalty, which we'll talk about penalties here too. Too many of them. Way too many, especially in key areas. It was a problem against South Florida too. And then they brought it to this game as well. Key plays, we have penalties on. You can't do that. That's just bad coaching. That's on Billy Napier. And if you're Billy Napier, you've got to be on edge, okay? His job is on the line coming up. He has to play Miami this weekend. A battle for, if they win, they'll be like maybe a top 3 team in the state, but right now they are the 4th best team in Florida. They are behind Florida State, they are behind Miami, and they are behind South Florida. Are they behind UCF? FAU maybe? Jacksonville? I don't know, they're FCS, but maybe they're even worse than them. You don't know, man. This Florida team has looked horrible. Just completely inept on offense. 5 interceptions from DJ Lagway. 5 interceptions. They look completely helpless on the offensive side of the ball. I just don't know where they go from here. DJ Lagway, on that throw, that had that penalty that they scored a touchdown, they would have had a 10-0 lead on. Then they had a holding penalty, brings it back. That was a great play. That was a great throw. DJ Lagway still has those little instances where he looks like the DJ Lagway from last year. But you have not seen that other than a few plays this year. And again, 5 interceptions. 5 of them. I can say that over and over and over again to get that through people's head that he threw 5 interceptions. That is completely unacceptable and not what we expected from DJ Lagway at all. At all. We expected him to be a top 10 at least quarterback in the country. He's nowhere near that. He's like a top 20 right now. Maybe. Probably not even that. He has to step up. He has to play better. He has to be able to get the ball to his receivers, to his weapons, and he can't do that whatsoever. Just stop throwing the ball to the other team. You're supposed to throw it to the team that's blue, green, and white and orange. Not that hard. I don't think it's that hard. Just not throw the ball to the other team. The other team that they played in this game was LSU, and their defense looked phenomenal, okay? Imagine if this defense had Jaden Daniels. Imagine if this defense was here with Jaden Daniels. Imagine how good they would have been. They would have won the national championship that year. How good that offense was if they had this defense. They don't. And now it's the offense that's the problem, okay? Garrett Nussmeier, he did go 15 for 27, 220 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Brian Kelly did come out and say he was hurt. So there's clearly another gear that offense has to get to. I think you heard that in Brian Kelly's postgame conference. He went ballistic on a reporter. And honestly, the reporter didn't even ask that bad of a question. He asked, what do you see with your offense right now? And then he blew up and said, oh my gosh, that's the question you're going to ask whenever we just won a game, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I feel like if you're getting that mad after just asking what you're seeing with the offense, I think that means he has a point. Brian Kelly, number one, needs to get that offense figured out. And number two, he has to be able to get that offense to the third gear. Not just figure it out, but get that to a third and a fourth gear. Because if they can do that, the defense has the potential to win a national championship, to win an SEC championship this year. They are that good on defense. They look like the second best team right now behind Georgia. I think Georgia, after the win over Tennessee, which we will get to in a little bit, that is probably the best team, and I would say probably second best team in the country right now behind Ohio State. But man, this LSU team is good. This defense is really, really good. Kane Durham even had a really good game. The running back, he went 15 carries for 93 yards. He had a 51-yard rush to seal it at the end of the game. This LSU team, they have Southeast Louisiana this weekend, right? So they kind of have a week to get confidence back in their offense, to get them to a level that they need to be so that they can take on Ole Miss, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, and Alabama. You want to talk about a difficult schedule? I can read that again. Ole Miss ranked. South Carolina was ranked. Vanderbilt ranked. Texas A&M just had a huge win over Notre Dame. Bama, they've really turned it around after this Florida State game. That is a tough schedule. That's one of the reasons why I didn't pick LSU to make my playoff. I don't think I announced that, but like in my head, I didn't pick them to win the SEC. I didn't pick them to make the playoff or anything, and I think that's why, is because of the schedule. Well, they beat Clemson, which we thought was a big win, which, again, we'll get to the Clemson and Georgia Tech game we'll get to after this game. They were not as good as we thought. So maybe the fact that they didn't beat them by more kind of scares me a little bit. But I also thought Clemson would be better. So it's kind of a balance that you have to find between, well, Clemson's not as good, but LSU still won and looked really good, and that was a game that I didn't expect them to win. So they went into the other Death Valley, won that game, and now it gives you confidence, especially after beating Florida, but Florida's not as good as we thought they were either. So, and then again, Alabama's on here. South Carolina isn't as good as we thought they were. Ole Miss looks kind of exactly how we thought. And then Vanderbilt does look better, and Texas A&M does look better than we thought they would be. So it's kind of a mix. It's like an up and down kind of version of the rest of LSU's schedule. Definitely interested to see if they can win those tough games. It's going to be a really tough way to end the season, but I think they can do it. I mean, LSU, this defense looked crazy. This defense is crazy good. To give up, 20 points combined against two top 15 talent rosters in Florida and Clemson. So I think if they can just get this offense figured out, if they can just get Garrett Nussmeier healthy, they're going to be one of the best teams in the country, and I think that they might be able to win a national championship with this team. Now, the second game that I want to talk about today is the Clemson and Georgia Tech game. What a game that was. Okay, that was an opener at 11 a.m., not on Big Noon. Not on Big Noon, it was not. Only big 11 o'clock game that I've ever seen that wasn't on Big Noon. But Clemson and Georgia Tech pulls it out at home 24-21. What a win for Georgia Tech and Brent Pry. I mean, if you want to put yourself on a map, if you want to establish to the country that you are a team that can beat top teams, that can go compete for a college football playoff, go compete for an ACC championship, that's how you do it right there. They outplayed Clemson. They outplayed Clemson through and through, all throughout that game. It took turnovers, and it took unlucky parts of the game for Clemson to just stay in the game, let alone have a chance to beat them at the end. Cade Klubnik, he looked decent, but he did not look great. Cade Klubnik went 15 for 26, 207 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Bryant Westco did show up. He had a really good game. He had 7 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown. They gave up 103 rushing yards to Haynes King. That's a formula to lose the game. Whenever you know what Georgia Tech is going to do, you know that they are going to try and run Haynes King, right? And then you let them do that. That's a sign that your defense isn't as good as you thought. That's not a good sign for your defense whatsoever. To know what they're going to do and not be able to stop it, that's a big red flag for Clemson, in my opinion. This is one of the most disappointing losses I think I can remember for Clemson, because Clemson was a top 5 team in the preseason. They were a national championship contender in the preseason. They were expected to go and compete for not only an ACC championship, but a national championship this year. Now we're 3 weeks into the season. You lost to LSU. You struggled heavily against Troy, and now you've lost to Georgia Tech. You cannot lose another game if you even want a shot to make the playoffs. And even if they do win out, it's kind of questionable if they even get in. Right? Dabo had the team to compete for the playoffs, had the roster to compete for the playoffs, and he's kind of thrown it away. Dabo, he had a long press conference the other day talking about, well, we're better than every other program out there. We've competed for national championships. We have more wins. We've won the league 8 out of the last 10 years. It's like, yeah, you have, right? But you're not getting compared to other teams. The work that you did in the 2010s has put you at a level where, yeah, we have higher expectations for you than a Virginia Tech. Like we used to have for Virginia Tech back before I was even born. They were supposed to be a national championship contender every year. And then whenever they weren't that, their coach got fired. I'm not saying that Dabo Swinney should be fired. He, by no means, he can leave whenever he wants with the work that he has put in Clemson. He has elevated them to a level that I don't think anyone thought possible 25 years ago, 30 years ago. So he can stay as long as he wants. He's not going to get fired or anything. His job is not under pressure or anything. And again, like he pointed out, he's only 55. I didn't even know that. I thought he was older than that because he's been around for so long. He's only 55. He has plenty of time to get this figured out and continue to win games at Clemson. But man, this was a year that he could have done that. I think this is a year that he's going to look at in maybe 2 or 3 years and be like, man, if we would have hit the portal here, we could have really competed this year in 2025. But they didn't. They dabbled. They got I think an edge rusher from Purdue who played really well, by the way, over the weekend. I think they got I don't remember who the other guy was, but they got someone else. They got 2 guys that I was like, okay, they're doing a little bit in the portal, but it's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. They have to be able to go out and get the top end players. Go get a Caleb Downs like Ohio State got. Go get a Carson Beck at quarterback. They didn't really need a quarterback this year, but that's just my example, right? They need to be able to get top talent from the portal because I think it's going to help them a lot. Because you can tell the team is just a few pieces away here, a few pieces away there from being able to compete and beat a Georgia Tech. Because Georgia Tech was a better team, but it wasn't by much. I mean, it was 24-21 with the last second fire drill field goal to win the game, right? But they need to be able in the future go out and get the top end players from the portal, and I think Dabo has to adjust to that. If not, the sport right now has already passed them by. He has to be able to adapt to that. Their season is almost over. It's almost over. Again, one more loss and they're out of the college football playoff race completely. Right? They're already 1-2, and they already struggled against Troy. They have to go play. I think they have to go play Miami later in the year. I think they play Florida State later in the year. I don't see a way that Clemson even makes the playoffs at this point. I mean, to go the rest of the season without losing another game, you still have, 8 more games? You've played 3. It's 12 minus 9. 12 minus 3 is 9. So you have 9 more games. You have 9 games left. I know I just look like an idiot trying to do that math that slowly, but my mind is focused on football right now. Okay, math classes for tomorrow. Okay, I have Algebra 1 tomorrow. Not worried about it. Not Algebra 1. College Algebra tomorrow. We can do that tomorrow. But, man, you have 9 more games throughout this season, and you're not going to lose a single one. I just don't see that happening for Clemson. I don't see a way that they get into the playoff. I don't see a way that they even go to the ACC championship, really. I mean, I don't see them beating Florida State. I just don't. Florida State is a better team right now, which is very weird to say about. Like, imagine after Clemson hits the game-winning field goal to win the ACC championship last year. Imagine, and, Florida State's 2-10. Imagine saying in, 9 or 10 months, Florida State's going to be the better team. You know how they did that? The portal. I think Clemson can take some notes from that. But let's talk about Georgia Tech. What a win for Georgia Tech. It was a statement win. We're here. We're here to compete for a playoff spot win for Georgia Tech, okay? Haynes King, 28 for 28, 211 passing yards, 25 carries, 103 yards, and a touchdown. All of that was Haynes King. All of that. That is, 314 yards accounted for just Haynes King. He said in his interview after the game, it's not a one-man show. Is it, though? Eric Rivers had another really good game. They did also have 147 rushing yards as a team, which again, 103 of them were just Haynes King, but that's also a really good stat for them. 147 rushing yards. Georgia Tech, again, is now in a sky is the limit position for them. College football playoffs, ACC championship, all on the line for them. They are a team that fortunately they play in the ACC, which is a weaker conference. So they will be able to rest Haynes King. He's not going to get rest. He's still going to be playing, but he's not going to be running all over the field like he has to be against a Clemson or a Colorado. He can relax and throw the ball, not run into 50 million people and pray to God he doesn't get hurt, right? So fortunately for them, they do play in the ACC, so they should be able to rest him quite a bit and get him to a point where he's healthy for the big games that they have to play. I am extremely excited about this Georgia Tech team. It has not made sense to me that there is a team in Atlanta, Georgia, in a power conference that just isn't that good. Now they are that good. I think the only thing they got to do better, I mean, they had a few penalty issues. They gave up a 3rd and 22 where Clemson was just throwing in the white flag and they just ran the ball, right? Just an inside zone, just get a few yards, we'll punt it. They give up a 3rd and 22. You can't do that. If you're playing an ACC championship game, you can't do that if you're Georgia Tech. But that's an easily fixable thing. You just got to fill your gaps. I mean, just pay attention to what's happening on the play. That's just a complete mental lapse to give up a 3rd and 22. And then, of course, Clemson goes down and ends up scoring on that drive. So that's 7 points on the board that really shouldn't be there. That's, again, my point to Georgia Tech was the better team here. They outplayed Clemson. It took a goal line, it took them throwing interceptions. It took 3rd and 22 converting. There were so many kind of lucky plays for Clemson to even stay in the game. That's why I'm really excited about this Georgia Tech team, though, is that they are that good. They can beat a Clemson team that won the ACC last year, brought back everyone. Georgia Tech just beat that team. I think they're good enough to compete with a Miami, with a Florida State for the conference. We'll see how good Florida State is going forward, but man, that Alabama win just looks better and better for them. And I think that they are one of the best teams in the country right now. They are on fire right now. They're definitely one of the hottest teams in the country for sure. It's just curious of how far they can go in the ACC. But again, just an absolutely huge win for Georgia Tech. All the respect in the world out for Brent Pry. He was perfect. The sunglasses, man, he looked like he knew what he was doing every single play. It's like the whole thing was just planned for him. The whole thing was planned. No, it wasn't. You don't plan a fire drill. Or did they? Because the announcers were talking about how they watched practice and they were practicing that. So maybe, I think truly, that they planned to just win that game on a fire drill field goal. And they did. They did it exactly how they wanted to do it, just how they drew it up. Great win for Georgia Tech. I cannot wait to see where they go from here. Texas A&M and Notre Dame are my next game. Texas A&M pulls this out 41-40. And Tyler Buckner had a huge impact on this game. The little lacrosse player. The Notre Dame, Alabama, Notre Dame lacrosse player had a huge impact on this game. Imagine saying that like a few days ago. That's crazy to me. CJ Carr, he went 20 for 32. I like what CJ Carr is doing so far this season. I mean, he looks really good. He had a touchdown and an interception. Jeremiah Love returned from the dead after the Miami game. 23 carries, 94 yards, a touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. Darian Price also had a really good game. He had 12 carries for 63 yards and 2 touchdowns. So the offense is humming. Offense for Notre Dame is humming. It's just the defense, man. That secondary. What happened to Notre Dame's secondary? Okay, this game was kind of similar to the Georgia and Tennessee game in the way that I kind of feel better about both teams afterwards. Like, I feel like the secondary should be fixable for Notre Dame. The talent that they have, the secondary should be able to fix itself throughout the season. The only issue, they're 0-2. We just talked about Clemson. They have 9 games left. Well, they got 10 games left, and they can't lose another one. Even if they do win out, they need USC to be good. They need USC to be good and to beat USC, because then that gives them a good win. If not, they're not going to have a good win on the entire season. They lost both of their big games I almost said out of conference, like they're in a conference, but it's this little 3 to 4 week period that at the beginning of the season where everyone's playing out of conference games. those were the games that they were supposed to win, and they didn't. So now they're not going to have a signature win unless USC is just really that good. But again, I mean, CJ Carr looked good. Jeremiah Love finally looked good against Miami. He did not, but he looked really good this week. They just can't lose again, and I don't see a way that you win 10 games in a row. I know they did it last year. They lost to Northern Illinois, and then they bounced back and won out until the national championship game, which is crazy. But can you do that 2 years in a row? Is Marcus Freeman the kind of coach that can do that 2 years in a row? I don't think anyone is. I don't think even Nick Saban could do that. I think never did I really remember Nick Saban being in a spot where, at least in a spot where he already lost 2 games, right? I mean, there were one-loss Alabama teams that won national championships all the time, but where he lost 2 games and they still find a way to finish the season really well. I don't remember them doing that. I don't see a way Marcus Freeman can do that either. So again, they just need to fix that secondary. But at this point, I think they've put themselves in a situation where it's not about them. It's about what other teams can do. Because now they need the top teams to just completely, everyone goes 9-3. Everyone goes 9-3. Or very, very, very few teams go undefeated or 11-1 or 10-2. They need a world in which all the good teams kind of cannibalize themselves. Oregon beats Penn State, but Penn State beats Ohio State, then Ohio State beats Michigan. They need a everyone beats everyone kind of scenario in which then everyone's at their level at around a 9-3 or 10-2. That's how they get into the playoff. It's just unfortunate for Notre Dame that they're now in a situation where it doesn't matter what they do anymore. They have taken themselves out of controlling their own destiny, and I don't see a way that they can get into the playoff now, just because there's going to be teams that have better records than them, or have the same record but has a much easier schedule and better wins and even better losses. Because, I mean, they lost to Miami. Miami looks really good, but Texas A&M is Texas A&M. They could just pull a Texas A&M and end up 8-4 again. So, I don't know. I struggle to see Notre Dame to make the playoff, but again, we'll see. I mean, it has a lot to do with how good USC is. Maybe USC can beat a Michigan, but they got Michigan State coming up this weekend, which is a kind of an underdog spot. We're not going to talk about that game because I expect USC to blow out Michigan State. But it kind of just depends on how good USC can be this year and how good all the other teams can be. Texas A&M, on the other hand, made a statement of, we're here. We are here. We are here to compete for an SEC title. We're here to compete for a college football playoff. It's kind of similar to a Georgia Tech, in which they are now stating that they are here to compete for more than what they normally do. Marcel Reed went 17 for 37. The completion percentage was not great for this game, but he still had 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Le'Veon Moss had a really good game, 13 carries, 80 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Mario Craver, maybe it's Craver or Carver, I don't remember. 7 catches, 207 yards, and a touchdown. A really good game for him. Casey Concepcion also looked really, really good. Terry Bussey looked really good. Those weapons, again, we go back to talking about Clemson, in which, imagine those weapons that they got out of the portal. Imagine if they went to Clemson. Imagine how good they would be. I know we're talking about Texas A&M right now, but that's just more to my point of how good Clemson could be if they would just try the portal. Just try it, just a little bit. Well, they did try just a little bit this year. A little bit more. Anyways, Texas A&M looked really, really, really good last night. They looked like a team that can compete for an SEC title and maybe even a playoff spot, but maybe a national championship. They have got to stop shooting themselves in the foot, though. They went 13 for 86 penalty yards. 13 penalties for 86 yards. They have to be able to sustain the success that they just had, though. Last year, they would go up and down, up and down, up and down. Well, part of that is because of penalties. They're very random, right? They have random plays where they're just, we just messed up. We did something we can't do. We got to come back. Got it. They just gave them some odd yards, right? They have to be able to stop shooting themselves in the foot. They have to be more consistent. They need to be able to keep a Marcel Reed healthy. They need to be able to keep Le'Veon Moss healthy. They have to be able to sustain success. That has been Texas A&M issues for years, even though under Jimbo, right? They go and beat Alabama last second walk-off field goal, and they go 8-4. I think that's what their record was that year. But it's a huge win. Huge win. And then they followed up with nothing. Even last year, up and down, right? I mean, you go into the Texas game at the end of the year, you have a shot to make the SEC championship, go to the playoff, and then you just drop an egg. I remember that game, man. I think I talked about it on an episode a little bit longer. Man, that environment that ESPN did a great job showing during that game, before the game, was electric. That might have been the most excited I've gotten from a pregame in years, okay? Besides the Michigan-Ohio State game, We'll talk about my Michigan Wolverines later, but that's one of those things that, like, man, that's the potential of a Texas A&M, is to have that electricity every single week in, week out, doesn't matter who they're playing. And, man, if they could just start winning, if they could just start being consistent, they could be one of the most fun programs to watch in the country. And after this game, they are well on their way to doing that. I do want to talk about a little about Notre Dame, man. They are a botched extra point and, 3 points away from beating Miami. They are so close. They were so close these two games, and that might cost them a college football playoff spot. Weird to think about. I'm curious to see how we're looking back on that towards the end of the year. But now my game of the week was Georgia at Tennessee. Georgia gets the job done 44-41 in overtime. What a game. I mean, I was not able to watch it live because I was working on Saturday, and then I think Sunday I worked all day, so that's why this podcast is going up late, because I was umpiring that day. Then Monday I was in between umpiring again and my classes, and I'm doing some research, trying to get stats and my thoughts down on these pieces of paper. And fortunately, I'm on YouTube TV, and they have a rerun going on ESPNU of this game. So I was able to watch the last half of it, the last little bit of the second quarter, and then the second half I was able to watch. And what a game. Just what a game. I mean, this was so fun to watch. Joey Aguilar, he is really good. Joey Aguilar looks like a Josh. I asked before the game, was if he looked like a quarterback that they got from UCLA for the last second right before the season, or did he look like a Josh Heupel quarterback, which he is technically both. Well, he looked like a Josh Heupel quarterback. I mean, he went 24 for 36, 371 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions. Chris Brazzell also had 6 catches for 177 yards and 3 touchdowns. They found their number 1 wide receiver. I feel so much better about Tennessee after this game, than I did before this game. Even though they lost. I feel so much better about them. Their offensive line looked good from times. I think the defense just needs to get a little bit better, right? I mean, the secondary did not play great. The secondary for Georgia didn't play great either. But they found a weapon in Chris Brazzell. Braylon Staley also looked really, really good. They just need to be able to take that next step. It feels like they've been missing this for the past 5 years, where they're right there. They're a top tier 2 team, where they're so close to beating the best teams in the country, but they just can't get it done at the end for whatever reason. Whether it be a missed field goal, whether it be penalties, whether it be a drop pass, it doesn't matter. They just cannot finish games and beat the best teams in the country. You saw it. They beat Alabama 2 of the past 3 times, which is insane for Tennessee. I mean, they used to never be able to beat Alabama. Now, since I became a huge college football fan, Tennessee has dominated this rivalry. I mean, I've just really dove into the sport within the past 3 or 4 years, and I know Tennessee is beating Alabama. That's weird to say. I know a lot of people would, if I'm telling that to, who are older than me, would be shocked to know that that's how I see that rivalry. It's just Tennessee beating Alabama more often than not. It's Alabama's always really good, but that trap game is always the Tennessee. Always Tennessee. Now, Georgia looked really, really good. Okay, Georgia looks like the second best team in the country behind Ohio State right now. Gunnar Stockton went 23 for 31, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. They had 198 rushing yards as a team. And they had five players that either had 29 yards or more, or he had 2 touchdowns. So there were 4 players that had 29 rushing yards or more. And then there's another guy who also had 2 rushing touchdowns. But that just goes to show how good that they are, how good the offensive line can be at running the ball. I mean, this was a block G game. It was a, what does that logo mean to Georgia kind of game. Does that logo show up whenever it needs to? And it did. It did in a huge way this weekend, okay? They should not have won that game. They did not play their best game. The game went in a way in which it's high-flying, big offensive plays, not much defense being played. That's a recipe for Tennessee to win. That's how Tennessee wanted the game to play out. And they should have won. They should have had that field goal at the end of the game. They missed it. And Georgia showed up and won that game. Took the game from Tennessee. It's just extremely, extremely, extremely impressive. And like I said, that O-line, man, that was the question going into this year for Georgia. How good was the O-line going to be? I texted my friend about this game, and I told him my 2 questions going into this game were, A, how good can Gunnar Stockton be? Is he a player that can elevate people around him, or do the people around him that need to elevate him? And he elevated that offense to a level that I did not think was possible for Georgia. I did not think that they could put up 44 against 38, but put up 38 against a really good Tennessee defense. I mean, not great. Obviously, secondary did not play good. But they were still able to put up 38 points, and I did not think that was possible for Georgia. So that O-line played really well. And I told the other question I had about them was the O-line and how good that they could be. How good could they be a offense, elevating the offense? Does that kind of make sense? Like, they elevated the offense to a level to be able to do that, right? They weren't hindering them. They weren't just like good enough. They were good. They were good to elevate the offense to a level to score 38 points and 44 total points against a really good Tennessee defense. Now, Georgia from here, they got to go play Alabama next week, right? I mean, sure they get, I forgot who they play this weekend, but it's not on my sheet for me to talk about. So I don't think it's that big of a game. So they should have a week to go and get ready for Alabama and get tested again, just like that. Just have a big game against Tennessee. All right, you get a week. Boom, you're playing Alabama. I can't wait for that game. That game is going to be special. Okay, now I do want to talk about my team of the week, and it's a team that I just talked about that lost. My team of the week is Tennessee. I mean, I if you're talking in terms of what team do I feel the most better about than I did a week ago, it's Tennessee. I didn't think that they would be able to have that good of an offense against a Georgia defense. I kind of thought that this game would get out of hand eventually, and that Georgia would kind of dominate and take over. But man, Tennessee came out and just punched them in the mouth. The first drive went down 7 points easy. I mean, it was quick. Balls on time, balls out, balls on time. We're scoring a touchdown. Then they did it again and again, and soon it was 21-7, and they were beating Georgia 21-7. Unfortunately, Georgia came back, but again, that's not something that I expected to see from Tennessee. I feel I didn't think that offense was going to be able to be I would say they would be able to be competent, but not an offense that can go win games for you. But they showed, they didn't go win a game this weekend, but I think they showed that they can. Just because you haven't just means you can't. And I think they'll be able to go and win games for Tennessee this year. And I think that they are now, even though they lost, a college football playoff contender. I mean, especially with a Clemson falling out of it, especially with a Notre Dame falling out of it already. It's like, well, maybe a Texas A&M, maybe a Tennessee can take that spot from them. So Tennessee is my team of the week. They impressed me the most out of anybody in the country. Now, let's preview this Miami and Florida game. Oh, we're talking about Florida again. Oh, man. It makes me cringe, all right? And the first sentence right here says, all right, let's get uncomfortable, all right? What a horrendous start to the season for Florida. DJ Lagway has looked horrible again. 5 interceptions against LSU. Completely unacceptable. I expect this game to be a bloodbath. Florida has started horribly. Their season is essentially over, at least in terms of the goals that they wanted to accomplish as a team this year, it's essentially over. They lost to South Florida. They had an opportunity to be like, all right, we lost. This is where we turn it around. This is where we fix our season. This is where we get back on track against LSU. Completely laid an egg. I mean, the offense is inept. It's just unfunctional in every sense of the word. Okay? And at the same time, Miami is red hot. Red hot. Okay, Carson Beck has a absolute stud in this Tony freshman kid. He is absurdly fast. He's been insane for Carson Beck and that Miami offense. Okay, and they have Ruben Bain on defense, being able to shut down that run game. I don't see a way that Florida really even competes in this game, just because their mental state that they have to be in right now, I can only imagine, is one of like, what is happening? What is happening right now? We were expecting to compete for a college football playoff this year. This isn't a schedule issue. We figured if there was going to be an issue for Florida getting into the playoff, it was going to be the schedule. It's not. It's a Florida issue, not a schedule issue. And that's terrifying if I'm a Florida Gators fan. So again, I don't really want to spend too much time on this game just because I don't think it's going to be close. I think that Miami is going to run through them, kind of like they did last year, except now it's at Hard Rock instead of the Swamp. I don't see a way that Florida can even turn around their season. With that schedule that they have, with how bad their offense looks, and honestly, the defense wasn't anything special either. It's uncomfortable in Gainesville. It's uncomfortable. Billy Napier, I don't see him surviving this year. And it makes me really sad because I was a big Billy Napier fan whenever he got hired there. I texted my friend last year whenever I thought he was going to get fired after the Miami game. I texted my friend and I said, I think that Billy Napier is one of those coaches that is going to do really good somewhere other than Florida. I think he got unlucky. I think he got unlucky with the schedules. I think he got unlucky with all this. But now, no. With the penalties, with how the team just looks not confident. They look dysfunctional. Nothing looks good about the team. The penalties, the mental mistakes that team has. I think it's coaching. I think they have more than enough talent there. I think it's coaching, and I don't think that Billy Napier will survive the season. I don't think that Billy Napier is going to be the head coach at Florida next year. I think, you just saw Virginia Tech, you just saw UCLA fire their coach. I could see Billy Napier ending in the same fate as them. Auburn and Oklahoma. Storylines, man. John Mateer, he's already in his second big spot of the season. Jackson Arnold is going back to Norman. Two coaches that are coaching for their jobs this year. This feels like a must-win for Auburn, okay? The difference between, I think, Auburn beating a Baylor and Oklahoma beating a Michigan. I think the Michigan game is a much bigger game, much bigger brand. I think they're a better team than Baylor. So I think that bought Oklahoma a little bit of time. I think that bought Brent Venables some time, right, to get the team going. Maybe he can drop this game, but then get them going and win quite a few games this year. On the other hand, for Baylor, the Baylor game for Auburn, it's not that impressive of a win. I think you might look back on it and maybe say, maybe Baylor goes and competes. I didn't even talk about Baylor in the Big 12 section I just did. They're another Big 12 competitor, but maybe they go off and win the Big 12. Maybe you look back on it as a big win, but I don't think it's as big as beating a Michigan for Oklahoma. So this feels like a must-win for them. This is kind of the second stepping stone. The stepping stone was like, the stepping stone game for Auburn was this much. For Oklahoma, it was this much. So now you got Auburn right here, and you got Oklahoma up here. So Oklahoma's kind of a little bit above them. They have that little space to kind of improve there. They have a little bit of time, right? Auburn doesn't. They need to take another step to get up either to or a little bit above the Oklahoma team, right? So they have to be able to step up and then continue to make those steps to beating the higher end SEC teams and maybe, competing for an SEC title maybe. I don't see that happening. I don't think that they're as good as they are. I don't think Jackson Arnold is really all that good. I think he's missing open receivers quite a bit. So I do think that Oklahoma is going to win this game. And let me tell you why, okay? Auburn, their run game has been really, really, really good, okay? They have Jeremiah Cobb, who has averaged 100 yards per game so far. But, man, did you see what Oklahoma did to Michigan? Did you see the way that they slowed down that run game? I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do this against Auburn as well. So, the best, if you can take away the best part from Auburn and force them to throw the ball, which I don't think Jackson Arnold is really all that good at, I think Oklahoma should be able to take over. And then you throw in the John Mateer factor, in which, I mean, I was talking to, I'm in this band, right, for William Jewell, actually. It's where Dan Lanning went, which is kind of interesting. Kind of fun little tidbit. I'm in a band. I go to a different college, but William Jewell is where Dan Lanning went. I get to play in one of their tiny bands there. I was talking to a kid next to me. He's a big Oklahoma fan. And he was like, man, I didn't really know John Mateer before this. I'd say he's kind of like, he's a band kid, right? Like, I'm a band kid too. I get it. So he's kind of a casual fan. He was talking to me and he was like, man, I didn't know John Mateer. Like, well, I knew John Mateer in the offseason. It's the Washington State kid who went insane at Washington State last year. It's like, man, I don't know who this John Mateer kid is, but he looked like Baker Mayfield out there. I was like, yeah, man. He's that good. He's a Baker Mayfield kind of talent. He's like, yeah, man, that's Baker Mayfield with long hair. I'm like, yes, it's Baker Mayfield light. That's what he is. He's that good. He's that good. He's that good. He can make those kinds of plays, make those kinds of runs. He can have that kind of energy and electricity in his game that can win games for Oklahoma, can energize a Gaylord Stadium for those fans. You can energize a team. You can energize a sideline, energize a coaching staff. John Mateer is that kind of dude on that sideline. He is that kind of dude for Oklahoma. And I cannot wait to see what he can do because I think he's going to be insanely good. By the end of the season, he's going to be a household name, and I can't wait to watch it because us college football fans, us here at the Scoring from the 50 podcast, we knew John Mateer's name. And we knew him. We knew who he was. And now he gets to go prove it to everybody else. I love it. I love watching John Mateer play. I cannot wait to see where he goes. And man, I'm talking about this, and I'm just reminded me how much I love talking about on this podcast, man. I'm having so much fun. I really am. I love doing this. I know I'm not great at it yet, but man, I love talking about this. I love previewing these games. I love talking with you guys. I love looking at those analytics that YouTube shows me and everything. And it's like, man, like the video got recommended to this amount of people, but only this many people clicked on it. You could improve here, 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 and here. I love it. And then it just lets me get better. And then I can improve myself not only in front of the camera, but also the thumbnails. I think you guys noticed that I changed some thumbnails that look really good recently, and I'm absolutely loving those. Okay. I changed the thumbnail for like the main podcast, not so basic anymore. I got some players on there, got the name and the V. Man, it looks really good. I'm really happy with it. I'm really excited about where this podcast is going, man. I love doing this. It is so much fun, and I'm so disappointed that this podcast is going out late. Hopefully I can get it uploaded today, and then we can get the previews out, at least cut up. We're probably not going to do the reviews just because it's too late. No one cares about last weekend by now. Everyone's just focused about this weekend. Like, okay, whatever. Georgia beat Tennessee. I guess it was a good game. Who cares? So now I think we're going to be able to cut up the previews for this upcoming weekend, and hopefully get those out into a shorter version so people can see it. Who is the Indiana of 2025? Is it Indiana? Or is it Illinois? They both have kind of easy schedules. Indiana is definitely harder than it was last year, but Illinois has an easy schedule, right? These two teams this weekend, they have almost the exact same team, okay? So let me read you a few key stats here. So the QBs, Luke Altmaier for Illinois has 709 passing yards. Fernando Mendoza for Indiana has 708. 709 to 708. Their leading rushers, Caden Fegan, 222 yards for Illinois. Kalen Black has 217 yards for Indiana. 5-yard difference. Their leading receiver, Hank Betty, has 289 yards. Omar Cooper for Indiana has 299 yards. A 10-yard difference. How am I supposed to pick this game? They are the exact same team. How am I supposed to pick this game? Well, okay, Indiana hasn't won a big game. They haven't been able to elevate their team to a spot that can win games against teams that maybe they shouldn't be. Illinois, on the other hand, I watched them beat South Carolina last year in the bowl game. Then they returned everybody from last year. And then I watched them go on the road to Duke just a few weeks ago. So how do I not pick Illinois here? I think I'm going to go with Illinois just because of the fact that they have been there. They have been in a position like this on the road against a team that's pretty equal in talent. Again, like I just said, they are the exact same team stat-wise. So I think Illinois has been there. Illinois has been there and done that. Indiana hasn't. Indiana, they didn't play a big game last year. They did against Ohio State, and they got blown out. So I'm going to go with Illinois. I don't really have much of an answer for this game. I'm not betting on this game. I mean, I don't bet on any games, but I'm not advising anyone to go bet on this game because they're the exact same team. I don't know how you're supposed to pick this team, but Illinois is on the road and has been there before, and they have won these kinds of games. So I'm going to go with Illinois just because I've seen it. I've proven production at that kind of game for Illinois, and I don't for Indiana, so I struggle to see a way Indiana kind of pulls this out. I also think that Indiana isn't as good as they were last year. I think Illinois is better than they were last year. So I think that Illinois is in a better position to elevate their game to a level that can make a college football playoff this year, maybe compete for Big Ten. I doubt it. That's a jump. But I think that they can at least compete for a college football playoff spot. Now, my game of the week, my Michigan Wolverines are going in to Lincoln, Nebraska. Okay? Man, I could not be more excited this weekend. I have to work again this weekend, so I'm not going to be able to watch it. I'm going to watch the replay probably the day or two after, and then I'll be able to talk about it, so I will know what I'm talking about. But this game has the potential to launch either team into college football playoff contention. Okay, Nebraska with a win, they're going to be 4-0 and only 2 games left against teams that they wouldn't be favored against, and that's against Ohio State and USC. Or sorry, not Ohio State. That is against Penn State and USC. If they lose 2 games, they're in the playoffs. If they go 10-2, they're in the playoffs. If they can just take care of business after this game, they are in the playoffs. Michigan, on the other hand, they're 2-1. They'd be 3-1 with a win, and they are the ones that will play Ohio State and USC. I think that they would be pretty close to a toss-up against USC, and I think Ohio State will probably be favored against Michigan later in the season. But, I mean, if you can beat that USC game after winning this game, who else are you going to lose to other than Ohio State? If you do lose to Ohio State, which I will be at that game, by the way. I think I've said that before, but I will be at that Ohio State game this year. I'm so excited. I don't see a way that they don't get in, assuming they lose to Oklahoma, beat Nebraska, beat USC, lose to Ohio State. They're 10-2. There's no way you can leave out Michigan, right? That is good enough in the Big Ten to make a college football playoff. I think if they go 10-2, then maybe you see Ohio State at 11-1. Maybe you see Penn State at 11-1, 10-2. Oregon 11-1, 10-2. Then you got 4 teams in for the Big Ten. I think in this scenario, I think USC probably isn't as good because, Michigan beat them. They still have to play Notre Dame. They still have to play Nebraska. I don't see a way that USC would get in that situation if Michigan does. So that's 4 teams right there. And then you account for, you have what? You have the ACC champion, probably an extra ACC team. I'd assume 2 would be in there. So you have 4, and then you have 6, a Big 12 champion, a group of 5 champion, puts you at 8. I think depending on maybe Notre Dame season, maybe Miami or Florida State gets in there. I mean, that leaves probably 3 spots for the SEC. And I think if you want to go back to this whole conversation that we've been having for the past, year or so about the playoff, that leaves the Big Ten in a situation where they have dominated the playoff, this 12-team playoff era. This past, if this happens, it's a big if, but if this happens, the Big Ten would then be in a situation where they have been the top dog in college football for three years now. They won the national championship in 2023, won the national championship in 2024. Now they're getting more teams in consistently than the SEC. Do we start to see a power shift? I think it's been pretty clear over the past 10 or so years. It's SEC, then Big Ten kind of slightly below them, and then you drop off to the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big 12 kind of down here, and then the Group of Five way down there. So do you see that power shift at the top of Big Ten's up here, SEC's down here? And I think that would play a big factor into who's paying attention to what, right? And I think that, more casual fans will start to lean towards the Big Ten. And I think that that's going to make them a little bit more money, especially in TV deals, stuff like that. And I know that doesn't affect the fan. I know that's not something that people want to talk about. But I think that's going to be a really advantageous spot for the Big Ten, especially going into a time where they are trying to negotiate how the playoff format looks going forward. I know that has nothing to do with the Michigan and Nebraska game, but that's how I see that playing out. It's just a tidbit about the overall grand scheme of things in college football playoff ecosystem. But back to the game. Let's talk about what really matters, and it's this Saturday in Lincoln, Nebraska, okay? So how can I see both teams winning this game? Michigan needs to run Bryce Underwood. He has to run. He has to be able to run. Biff Poggi said that he has the green light to run this weekend. I think he and Sharon Moore both watched the game over the weekend where they killed Central Michigan. And I think they are now in a mindset now where it's, okay, let's go let Bryce be Bryce. If he can go out there and lead a team to 63 points as a true freshman, that is not something that a lot of people can say that they've been able to do. Bryce Underwood is a special, special talent. You have to let him be that talent. You can't hinder him by not letting him run, by not calling plays that are downfield. You have to at least have the threat, or at least have the option to go downfield, to just try. Because that's going to open up the run game so much for Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall and Bryce Underwood. You can run play-action reads. You can run RPOs that can scheme guys open enough to the point where Bryce Underwood can use his legs. Justice Haynes can use his legs. Because you can't be a one-dimensional offense like you were against Oklahoma. You just can't be. All they did was run the ball. They popped one, right, for 75 yards with Justin Haynes. But that was it. That was the only really good run, only time that the offense looked halfway decent other than a Donovan McCulley catch down the field over the guy's helmet. That was an insane catch. But, man, if you don't run the ball, if you don't let Bryce be Bryce and throw the ball downfield, let him run, it makes your offense into a snap the ball, hand it off. Snap the ball, hand it off. Snap the ball. Oh, it's 3rd and 6. Guess we have to throw it. Throw it, incomplete pass because they know what's coming. You can't do that. Nebraska is too good of a defense to be able to get away with that. Now, Nebraska is kind of in the same spot. Last year, they did throw it down the field, but it didn't work, right? Dylan Raiola has to be able to throw the ball downfield. He has to be able to make big plays with his arm, as well as at least a little bit of his legs. He doesn't have to be perfect. He can be kind of what a Patrick Mahomes, I know we talk about this constantly with Dylan Raiola, but what Patrick Mahomes is for the Chiefs. I'm a big Kansas City fan, got the Chiefs logo right there. He doesn't make a ton of play with his legs, but you always know it's there. You always know that if you aren't sound in your pass rush lanes, that you have to be able to make a defensive edge miss and then run for 5 or 6 yards, right? And I think you saw Michigan struggle to bring down John Mateer, which John Mateer is a much better runner than Dylan Raiola, but they struggled to bring down John Mateer. If you can just make them struggle to bring down Dylan Raiola, that's whenever Nebraska can have a very successful Saturday this weekend. So that's kind of my key, is who's going to be able to be a more explosive offense, and which defense is going to be able to get to the quarterback while still giving resources to stop the run. You know what I mean? Because there's a difference between pass rushing and a run play, like a run defense, right? If you're a run defense, you're kind of just like stopped. You're kind of just like getting in the way and trying to slow a guy down. And the offense, you're on a pass play, on a pass rush, you're trying to get to the quarterback. You have to get past your offensive lineman. You have to get around him. You have to go the other way. You have to go through him. You have to go under him, over him. You got to get to the quarterback. I think whoever can find a good balance of getting to the quarterback, staying in the pass rush lanes, and still having a good defensive line foundation to stop the run, I think that's who's going to win this game. Is which defense can be able to do that. And I think with the notoriety that Michigan has and the fact that I am a huge Michigan fan, I have to pick my Wolverines in this game, right? So I think that Michigan is going to win this game. They are favored. I think that they are favored for a reason, but I'm not confident in it at all. Okay, this is a huge game. I'm going to try my hardest to at least listen to the game somehow, some way while I'm working. I don't know how I'll be able to pull that off, but we'll see. We'll see for sure. I'm going to try to be able to watch it live, but if not, I'll be scrolling through Twitter and every few minutes be like, hey Siri, what's the score of the Michigan game? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then hide it back in my pocket. That's what I did with the Georgia and Tennessee game. The Georgia-Tennessee game made me mad because I was working during it, and I had paused YouTube TV because my break was going to be in like 15, 20 minutes. I had paused YouTube TV on my phone. I was like, okay, pause it there. I'll watch the end of the game. It was right before Tennessee's last regulation drive where they went down the field and missed the field goal. I was like, okay, I'll watch the end of regulation during my break. And I turned off notifications for Twitter. I turned off notifications from my Georgia friend. And then whenever I went to go on my break, I opened my phone, and it wasn't in the text exchange between me and my friend, but it was in the messages app. And I saw "Let's go" in all caps. It's like, oh, I just completely messed the whole thing up. So I didn't get to watch it live. I didn't get to have a natural reaction. But again, it was a great game either way. But yeah, I think Michigan and Nebraska is going to be very similar. I mean, it's two teams that are just trying to prove that they can be back on the national title kind of competition, right? Nebraska hasn't been there in 20-odd years. It's been like 2 for Michigan, okay? But very excited. I cannot be more excited for this game, man. I love whenever Michigan's in big games. It is my favorite weekends whenever them Wolverines go out and have to play a big game. But that is going to do it for this episode of Scoring from the 50. We went kind of longer this week. I think I had a lot more to talk about for sure. And we're just going to get more and more to talk about throughout the season. I cannot wait for the rest of the season. I love this. I love doing this show so much, guys. I mean, I cannot thank you guys enough for the support that I've gotten so far on returning with this college football podcast. I mean, I went from like 13 subscribers up to like 32, which I know 32 doesn't seem like a lot, but like I said last episode, it's a lot to me. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe again if you've made it all the way through this. I mean, we're about an hour recording. I'm sure I'll cut up a little bit of it, so it'll be around 55 minutes or so. If you're this far in and you're not subscribed, what are we doing? Make sure that you go down and subscribe, hit the like button, show your support, make sure that I can see how I'm doing, give me some feedback on what I can do differently, maybe make this podcast a little bit better for you guys. But again, I love doing this. I'm really trying to get this up and get this going, even though I am working a ton. I'm really sorry that this was late, a few days late. But I've just been so busy, man. My parents are out of town to take care of my dogs. I've been having all this stuff going on. But again, I'm here. I'm really dedicated to getting this work because I love doing it, man. It doesn't feel like I'm working. I mean, the editing part of it kind of sucks, but that's only like an hour of my week, right? So the editing part sucks, but I mean, just sitting here talking to my freaking computer about college football and knowing that there's people out there that are going to listen to this, it brings so much joy to my heart. And I love doing this for you guys. I am so excited that I get to do this. And yeah, we will see you guys next week again. Hopefully it should be able to get out and not on next Wednesday, and hopefully maybe Tuesday, maybe Monday. We'll see for sure, but I will for sure have an episode next week because again, I'm dedicated to getting this podcast going and getting it started and growing an audience, growing a foundation of what I can make this into a career maybe someday, and what it can be for me in my job and whenever I'm older, and hopefully still covering college football. But I will see you guys next week. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Make sure you guys watch all the games that you can. I know most people don't work on weekends like I do, so go watch football. Sit on your couch, just sit back, relax, and watch football all day. I mean, that's a dream weekend for all of us, right? I hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy these great games and enjoy football while we have it on our TVs. We don't get, I don't get it during the spring, man. You got to enjoy it now. But for me, for the Scoring from the 50 podcast, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys next week.